All right. Good evening. We are part of the EFD 645 with Dr. Kimberly Warfield. This is our diversity case study. We're going to start with our introductions.
My name is Jason Boatman. I am currently a ISS teacher and high school football coach at McIntosh County Academy in Darien, Georgia.
I'm Wendy Etter. I'm a seventh grade ELA teacher at White Plains Middle School in Alabama.
I'm Alicia Foster. I am a health and physical education teacher at Valdosta High School in Valdosta, Georgia.
And I'm Brian Sines. I work at Brunswick High School, and I am the head strength and conditioning coach.
Okay, so our case study starts out with this is the English only case study with Miss Mancini. She is currently teaching at a school that she went to high school with, or she went to school at. When she was in school, everyone spoke English, but now about a third of the students have a different home language than English. Some of the teachers are expressing concerns about ELLs, and Miss DeLeon was one of those ELL students that they are expressing concerns about. Mr. Stinson is introducing an English only policy, which is being pushed by the district and already implemented in other schools. This will affect classroom time where they can only speak English. Ms. DeLeon now feels alienated from the rest of the staff she serves due to her beliefs for non-native English students in the classroom. And so Mr. Stinson has delayed the start of the new policy until next term to discuss a plan to address student non-compliance.
Now, with the different perspectives, you kind of have to talk about them from each standpoint, because not everybody is affected the same way. With Miss Mancini, she was concerned about her students' well-being, understanding the ethical dilemma and trying to enforce a policy that not only harmed the ELL students, but pushed them behind. Mrs. DeLeon was an advocate for this different diversity and the challenges of harmful stereotypes, and it defends the importance of the student's home language. Mr. Stinson, he struggled with external pressures to adopt English-only policies, and he prioritized the collegiately over addressing the deeper issue of the race and language. Mrs. Ross and Mr. Thomas, the resistance to change and cultural discomfort that kind of affected them, and it's kind of hard to change, especially when your view on ELLs have always been deferred to what they are now or what they're trying to be pushed. The ELL students could be feeling alienated. The district administration, they're pushing the standardized policies and they're trying to make everything just cookie cut. And in the community, they alienated by policies too that ignored the linguistic and cultural wealth of the immigrants' families. So the challenges and opportunities that, were presented in this case study was the resistance of cultural change by teachers. There was a cultural insensitivity and stereotyping. There was biases about the ELL students, their families that, are just their harmful assumptions. The power balance within the faculty, the more vocal teachers, they dominate the discussion, kind of shutting out other people who, may have a perspective that's relevant, but, they cannot get it out because some people's voices are more dominant than others. And the opportunities that were created was, being able to embrace the linguistic diversity by recognizing that the students' home languages are not only, beneficial to their life, but it's assets to enhance the learning around the professional development for training teachers in cultural competence and strategies for supporting the ELLs, challenging harmful policies, and collaborative teaching. There's a there's a there's a lot to say about a staff that is partners within situations like this and being able to meet in the middle instead of having differing outlooks.
For equitable outcomes, the first one was transitional bilingual education. This is for the students to be able to learn English as quickly as possible, and it encouraged increased English over time. Secondly, bilingual support zones. So schools could set up these zones in classrooms where the students are able to use their native languages to collaborate on tasks without fear of reprimand, and teachers will be able to guide the students on when it's beneficial for them to use English versus their native language. The third one is structured peer support. This could be a program where different bilingual students partner with ELL students and help them, or they provide bilingual aids for the students. Fourthly, professional development for teachers. This is going to train teachers on culturally responsible strategies and different benefits of bilingualism so the teachers see their native language as assets rather than seeing them as barriers in the classroom. And then lastly, parent and community involvement. This is for schools to be able to partner with the families and provide resources to reinforce their language development at home. For some immediate term responses, the first one would be to implement a compromise policy. So, for example, they could suggest allowing students to be able to speak their native language, but only in small groups or with a partner, and only during certain classroom activities that are specifically challenging material, and just making sure that the student still benefits from their native language without overusing it during instruction time. Secondly, they could implement bilingual resources. The schools can offer translated resources, especially for key content, vocabulary lists, or instructions, and this will reduce the need for peer assistance and help the students transition smoothly to understand the material in English.
Some of the long-term policy and adjustments that you could make on a daily basis could be small groups and technology translation tools from personal experience in the classroom is very beneficial to just depending on who's in your class. If someone's struggling with the language barrier and you have other students in the class who might speak the other student's native language and English, that's a really good bridge that you could use. But so after a lesson, you could make it a daily practice or every other day or however you can fit it in your unit to put students in small groups of 3 or 4. And that way, if and it doesn't have to be the an ELL student, it could benefit all students, but especially an English language learner, that would definitely help them with the communication. And if there was any gaps there, you could help bridge those a little bit easier on a daily basis. Also, there are certain apps that you could use that are used in the classroom now. Most students have Chromebooks. You could use the apps for the Chromebooks, and they can translate on the app whatever into their language that they speak currently. So that would just also help not get that student from falling behind. And then the plan of action. Again, whatever, and if it's whether it's a informal assessment or a formal assessment, a plan of action would be whatever it is. It could be a worksheet, it could be something online, but there needs to be an option where there are tools. If it's a test online, if it's a formative, whatever, that you have that assessment translated to that student's native language. Again, from personal experience, I've seen that there's a lot of tools out there that you could do that. If you want to print it, that might take a little bit more work, but there are options if you do like a progress learning where you can just click a button and it would take you to the online version of another language. So I think that would be something that would need to be put in place. And then have translation devices, again, more online tools. That way that if they're more auditory learners, um, that would be another way to kind of bridge gaps there and just help the students progress and build as they go. But that would just be something to make them feel more comfortable. And that way they're still learning the material and not falling behind and still keeping up and just again, you're just building and going through that progression.
Okay, so I think we had some great solutions and we really looked at the different perspectives of this case study. There are several different questions that we needed to answer individually. Should Ms. Mancini enforce the policy? Or should she even though she believes it's bad for her students, or she attempt to change her colleagues' minds. Would you have reached out to Ms. DeLeon following the faculty meeting? If so, how? And if you were in a school in which an English only policy was instituted, how might you engage students in a conversation about the policy and its implications? I think we all answered from experience from our own classrooms in having ELL students, that we have to be mindful that they are bringing a different culture into the classroom as well. And while they do need to learn the English language in order to find success in our public schools, they also need a way to hang on to their personal identity as well. What are your thoughts?
In regard to the first question, I would address the administration and not try to put them in an uncomfortable situation in front of the whole faculty, but the main goal is to do what's best for the students. And so if there's a solution or a strategy that you have, I think you should go to your administration, to go to their office or whatever you need to do, and just say, hey, I found a strategy that could be very effective. And I think communication would be key there. And if they see that your intentions are good and it's a good solution, you'll probably have support.
I agree. I think going out to the administration first and maybe even the district with some different resources to help those ELL students would be the best decision. We don't want to take away their individuality, and we don't want to devalue their native language.
Brian,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on Miss DeLeon?
Yeah, I think Ms. Dialon, I think they should just attempt to change her, the colleague's mind, and it's just through, conversation. It doesn't have to be disruptive. It doesn't have to, downplay somebody. It doesn't have to be controversial. It can just be a nice open conversation and start to build alliances and make people understand why it's important. And hopefully they can, come up with research and, present it that shows that it improves student learning and engagement. And, they become an alliance and to advocate for the ELL students.
Okay, thank you. Our resources, of course, are from our Multicultural Education in a Pluralistic Society course readings. And if you have any questions, does anybody have anything else before we close? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.